Hello and welcome to Morgan Latif Presents. I'm Oliver Morgan, co-founder and director of Morgan Latif and your host, and today I'm joined by Libby Costin, Chief Marketing Officer at Tetra Pak. Libby talks to me about the marketing transformation journey at Tetra Pak, initially starting about a brief introduction to the organization, moving on to discuss the state of marketing in the organization when she joined, and then the three waves of marketing transformation that they're embarking on. Initially, they focused on marketing services and customer innovation centers. Secondly, digital infrastructure and implementation, which is ongoing. And the third and next wave, combined sales and marketing transformation. Throughout the discussion, we touched on some of the challenges and opportunities of a digital and marketing transformation journey, and also some of the leadership skills required to make this successful. I hope you enjoy. Libby, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Thank you.
So you're talking to us today about the marketing transformation journey at Tetra Pak, and I thought it'd be really great if you could just to set the scene a little bit, talk to us a little bit about who and what is the Tetra Pak organization.
Sure. Yeah. So Tetra Pak is the leading packaging and processing solution provider in aseptic packaging specifically. And so we're a privately held company, about 11 billion euro in turnover annually. And we primarily serve the dairy and beverage industries. So we have key customers like Pepsi, like Nestle, Fonterra, Dennison, many large and medium-sized dairy companies, many large and medium-sized beverage companies. Those are the main categories where we work. And what we do is basically we sell equipment, paper to make packaging, and a full system. So you can process and produce and pack dairy and beverage products. You can even do broths, soups, olive oil, wine, lots of things that are liquid. Food and beverage can be packed in our packages.
You've got to be interested at the wine point there. That's
Yeah.
Sounds good. I mean, it sounds like an exceptionally exciting and complex and diverse organization. Could you talk to us then, so from a marketing perspective, where this transformation journey started?
Sure. Yeah. You know, we're a very interesting organization, I would say, in the sense that we are not a pure B2B play, and in fact, we are kind of a hybrid B2B2C organization. That's how we talk about ourselves. And I've been with the company now about 9 years. So I started in a global marketing role. Then I went out for 2 years to a regional marketing role and recently came back into this role where I'm heading up our marketing organization. And when I first started back 9 years ago, I came in with a consumer packaged goods background and found, you know, we were pretty much a traditional marketing kind of company, meaning we did a lot of information research. It was both consumer research and industry research. We had a lot of material and we just shared data with customers. That was kind of our marketing thing that we did. And I thought, you know, I think that since we have so much good information, and we have so much kind of good capabilities in our organization, we could do a lot more. And so we started a first wave, as I call it, of transformation. And we've had basically, we're in the middle of wave 2, and we're going to soon move to wave 3. But, you know, in terms of how the organization was set up and what kind of backgrounds we had for a long time been recruiting consumer packaged goods backgrounds into the team. So we were really, really good at consumer packaged goods work, having B2C backgrounds, and very much able to talk and relate to our customers and their needs, but still working in a pretty traditional model, I would say. So when we started to talk about wave 1, what I call it is the Marketing Services and Customer Innovation Center wave, where we were doing a lot of interesting things with providing data and information. And then we'd start getting into brainstorming sessions with our customers about okay, if you're selling product X today, maybe you want to evolve that product a bit, the product that's packed in our packages, to a different area with a different consumer target group. But we weren't very formal about it. So in that first wave, what we wanted to do was formalize a really unique value-adding approach to working with our customers. So we wanted to really bring the customers closer to us. So we created this program that we called Marketing Services, where we did a ideation and co-creation journey with our customers using design thinking methodologies and offering them a kind of a total service from blank sheet of paper to a finished concept and product that they could launch. We also built 6 customer innovation centers that are all around the world, still up and running today. And that was, we called it the best, but not the only place where we could carry out these activities. Best because it was fully kitted out and ready with all the right kind of setup and information in the center, but not the only place, because we could always go to the customer's location as well. So we formalized that approach, we launched it, and we really were able to create a lot of pull for customers who wanted to enter into this kind of discussion with us. It was a way for them to step out of their own, mindset and get some outside inputs from us. And we were really able also to trace, when we do these workshops with customers, we end up selling more, which of course is the key. So that was kind of what we did. It took, of course, longer than you would think, because we first had to convince the organization that we wanted to do this and why, and that it was kind of within our remit to do so. And once we got through that, then we had to train up the organization and to take a traditional kind of data and analytically oriented marketer and put them into a facilitation and collaboration with customer mode, took longer than you would think. So it took us maybe 3 years to go through this journey, and that was about 6 years ago. But today it's kind of just a regular way that we do business with our customers, and very much sought after and requested by our customers.
I think it's a really
so
interesting.
That was wave one.
Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's an amazing start for the first wave, and I think it's a really interesting and innovative approach, because especially in the packaging sector, it can be difficult to differentiate yourselves, and I know Tetra Pak's a solution provider, but also not be seen as a commodity, let's say. So it's surprising you said you faced challenges in getting the buy-in from the organization. Could you maybe talk to us a little bit about that, what the challenges were?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit about people believing that we could do this, because it took us from that data-based analytics space into something quite creative. And so the biggest obstacle was really us in the organization believing that we could actually do that, that we could actually become creative facilitators, that we could be good enough that the customers would want to work with us. So it was a little bit about, can we really make this much of a change in our own capabilities and skill sets? And of course, we took some help from some best-in-class agencies and organizations to build up a curriculum and a training program for how we'd help people make the change. And of course, also not everyone was able to do that. Some people, just were naturally drawn to it and really love to do this. And so they've been kind of our champions and took the lead and continue to take the lead. And some people are able to do more basic things. And we always knew that would be the case. So we have a bit of a spectrum in terms of some people are really, really good at it. And, they kind of want to make it their whole job. And then other people are like, well, I could do some of the basics, but if I'm in a workshop, I want to be the co-facilitator, not the lead facilitator. So we've kind of landed in a place where everybody understands this, and then there are varying levels of kind of capability that people can do, which is okay. It's working out all right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great. Then you almost, like you said, you're an agency and a consulting partner, and you've already implied about the additional revenue and the just as one case, the value that a marketing department can really add.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were there any particular learnings that you mentioned upskilling the team, but any other learnings that you took from that first wave at the start of the journey?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in addition to it, it took longer than we thought to get ourselves kind of trained up. I would say the other surprising thing was that our customers were really, really open to this approach, and felt we were credible. Even though we doubted ourselves, they felt we were credible to do it. And after they had been in one workshop with us, and these workshops can be done over weeks or within a couple of days, depending on how you structure it. After they've done one, they always have come back for more. So we've had to continually, refresh how we're doing them because we have repeat customers coming back. So I think that was a good learning, that not only was it a good idea, it was recognized and really created a lot of customer pull.
Yeah, I can imagine. So this first wave, after the marketing services and the innovation centers, what was the second wave? How did you move on and identify the next phase of the journey?
Yeah, so that first wave started about 6 years ago, as I said. And so we've been kind of focusing on that until the last couple of years, when suddenly we realized, oh, there's a whole digital world out there that we're not necessarily, fully engaged in. I mean, of course, we had a website, have a website, have a few, basic infrastructure tools like that are used in digital marketing. But we really wanted to kind of upgrade and implement not only our skill sets in this area, but also our infrastructure, so we could work using all of these kinds of digital areas. So, for example, we wanted to improve our web platform for our public internet, and then we wanted to consolidate our marketing automation platforms, where we had a few. We wanted to consolidate into one, so that we could really enable targeted marketing efforts. So I call wave 2, digital infrastructure and implementation. Not only would we want to have the infrastructure, we need to be able to implement it and show kind of business impact. So we are still in that wave 2, even as we've got an eye on wave 3. But we've now put a better basic infrastructure in place, and we're starting to use it. And we now want to scale up a lot more quickly as we also upskill the team and start to get people more comfortable and more quick at implementing. So that's kind of the current wave. And I don't know about other companies, but we've certainly felt we've been a bit behind in this area. And I think it's the nature of digital to always feel like you're not where you want to be. So we're just in this mindset of, we continue to do more and more and more, and we continue to kind of scan the landscape of digital infrastructure and tools to see what new ones we want to bring in. But it's a constant, it's a very dynamic, constantly changing area. So I think it's just a forever journey in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super exciting and lots of opportunities, but like you said, it's a dynamic space. I've got so many questions about this area. So you mentioned initially that you hired a lot of B2C marketing talent in the organization. Yes. And then you mentioned about upskilling and maybe some different perspectives or different skills in this second wave. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, and in fact, we've kind of taken a little bit of a turn because for really decades, at least a decade, we've been hiring these B2C background marketers into the team, and that has really served us well because, as I mentioned before, we can really relate well to customers and what they're looking to do. But this whole area of digital marketing and using digital platforms and tools to market direct to customers is a whole area of B2B marketing that we hadn't really gotten into. So we're now kind of shifting a bit and saying we need to hire, digital native B2B marketers as well. So we need to start to bring in people who have specific, capabilities, like they may be a social media expert, or they may be a marketing automation expert. And then we need to bring people who have backgrounds doing that kind of marketing, but in the B2B space, because it's quite a different use of digital marketing in B2B versus B2C. So we're now trying to get a blend of capabilities as we train up our existing team so that they can kind of do both, actually. And that's a tall order, actually, for people.
Yeah, and just in layman terms, are we talking about the difference between Facebook and Instagram in terms of how the consumers interact with marketing versus, let's say, LinkedIn or other platforms that I don't know, customers in businesses engage on?
Yeah, it's that, and then it's also how you do your targeting, who you're trying to contact and interact with, and what you do with those leads that you receive. Because in consumer marketing, it's really, really broad. Of course, you're reaching different kinds of consumers, and there's a lot of rules around consumers in terms of how you are to work with them, and you don't really target them individually unless they do all their opt-in. Similarly, with customers, they have to opt in as well under GDPR guidelines and allow you to speak to them directly. But you're routing them back to the sales organization after you've put them through some qualification hoops to make sure they're really, really interested. And then you're also taking your own targeted content from the company, our company, in our case, about our solutions based on what they look at. So it's a similar method. It's just a different number, I think, of contacts. And it becomes much more specific because you try to track the customer all the way through and back to whether or not they bought more from us, specifically by company, right? So it's a slightly different approach. Same basic principles, but a slightly different approach. And yeah, you use different platforms. So LinkedIn, we found, is a particularly good platform for us in terms of driving traffic to us, to our website, et cetera. That seems to be the best one, at least from what we see right now.
Yeah, I follow Gary Vee, and he's saying that LinkedIn is a hugely undervalued and untapped resource. And he thinks from a business perspective, it's almost like Instagram was 15 years ago. And in the future, it's going to be a much more competitive landscape for eyeballs and customers.
Absolutely.
We're talking about this digital infrastructure and implementation phase in phase 2, and you've touched on the website, and I think because it is so vast and there's so many technologies and so much opportunity in digital transformation from a marketing perspective, at least, how did you prioritize what to focus on in this wave?
Yeah, I mean, I think because we were starting at a pretty basic level, we prioritized and focused on real basics. So we have 3 main things that we're focusing on right now. We've upgraded our internet platform for our own internet. We have a customer portal, and then we have a marketing automation platform that we've consolidated, 3 different ones into one. And then that's all connecting to our CRM system. So those 4 things, now we need to focus on optimizing those and activating as much, good activity as we can, both always on activities and campaigns. So that's enough for us right now. If we can just get those optimized, that'll be good. And then we'll start to look at, more advanced activities. So, but that's where we're starting for now. And that'll take us a little while, I think, just to get the activities going. And then in parallel to get people's skill sets up to speed and get people, kind of at the right level of activities. So that's quite a full plate right now for us.
Yeah, definitely. It must be a big challenge from a leadership perspective as well. If there's new skills required in this, going through this transformation, knowing then how much, also the question that how do you know how much to upskill the existing team and put them through new courses versus hire additional team members? Was it quite difficult to get that balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, it's a difficult balance. And I think our preference has been to try to upskill the team that we have, and where, as openings come available, as people move into other jobs and openings come up, then we're hiring in a certain number of people with specific skill sets that we think are big gaps, where it might take a really long time to get somebody up to speed. So we're doing, we have got a preference for upskilling and then selective external hiring, I would say.
Understood. What have been so far then in wave 2, the main achievements or opportunities that you managed to identify?
I would say just getting that basic infrastructure that I mentioned, getting that in place, starting to use it, starting to really publicize what we've done so that people can see, the value and the impact. That alone has been an achievement, I would say. And being able, one of the big eye-opening moments for certain people, including our senior management, has been the level of detail and data that you can collect, and the things that you can find out about your customer through seeing their activities that they're doing, all the different things customers are looking at when they visit our website, for example. But to roll that up in a very clear and concise way, it's a good and different kind of customer insight than what we're used to looking at. So I think that's been really insightful.
You've hinted there at the clearly what the achievements and what the value has been from this digital infrastructure wave. You've also touched very briefly on some of the challenges, which I can imagine there were several. What were the biggest challenges in bringing the organization on board and really achieving what you've achieved so far?
Yeah, I think I'm going to sound like a broken record by saying again, just like wave 1, the big challenge was the buy-in and the belief that we could and should do this. So when I say belief that we could, that was more of a question about, do we have the right kind of organization and skill sets to do this? And then should we do it was more, and whether or not there's a good understanding throughout the organization that we actually can drive a lot of information exchange and business just through doing digital marketing. And that is not abundantly obvious to everyone in our organization, because we don't have a lot of customer churn in our business. We have a lot of big customers with whom we do big business, and we've worked with them for decades, right? So then we say, well, why do we need to then also do this other digital marketing stuff? When I see the customer, I talk to them, isn't that enough? Well, no, actually it's not enough, because the customer, independent of us, goes out, looks around on the internet, tries to find things, does their own research. So it's good if we're understanding what it is that they're doing and what they're looking at, so that we can give them the most relevant information at the right moment. So that was kind of the mind shift that we've had to make. We're still making that mind shift, but I think we're getting there.
Yeah, I can imagine, not just, I mean, the scale of the organization, and the number of regions and locations and business areas that you have. There's like we touched on at the start, a huge level of complexity there. How do you get people bought in, and how can you convince people about the value of this marketing wave?
I think mainly by demonstrating. That's kind of been our big thing. We've been doing a lot of small pilots to show, sometimes at a very, very local level, in a local market, where we do one activity and then we show the benefits and the results. That seems to work the best when it's off of the PowerPoint and into something real that is relevant, something real with a real customer of ours. Then it starts to really, people start to really recognize what we're talking about. If you show them a PowerPoint and say 95% of businesses who implement this get a better ROI, that isn't really very convincing. If you say customer X in your market, and here they are, and look what we did with them, we did this particular campaign, and we got these particular results, then it's much more believable. So we've taken this kind of small activity as a pilot to prove within our own environment. That seems to always work the best. Then it's real, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've touched on the regional aspect, and you're talking about this transformation enterprise-wide.
Yeah.
How did you structure it? So was it one size fits all in terms of across the group, or did you tailor it to the specific regions?
It's definitely been one size fits all in terms of the technology. So we said we cannot any longer have 3 different marketing automation platforms going. It doesn't make any sense from a cost perspective. This is what we had. We had 3, and that was really not smart, but they just kind of grew up organically. But then we're paying 3 separate fees, licenses, and it's really hard on the back end to connect everything together. So we said, when we talk about technology, infrastructure, the platforms we're using, we're going to use all the same ones. When we talk about campaigns and activities that we do, we will create them centrally, and then we will hand them over to the local markets for local tailoring and execution. So we have a bit of a mix there. And of course, we're in 170 countries. We have many languages. So that local handover is important, because there's got to be a translation of the material, not only a language translation, but also some localization aspects. And then also, of course, the local markets sometimes run their own programs. So we try to find the best balance of economies of scale, of producing a set of creative material once centrally, and then let the local markets translate, localize, add on things. So we kind of have a bit of a mix where we look to optimize how we're spending our money so that we can also be locally relevant.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think the amount of conversations I've had with even on CRM platforms, they say we're running Salesforce here and Microsoft here, or SAP for our CRM.
Nightmare.
And it's
can be a real nightmare.
That was some fun looking at the system side of it on its own.
Yeah.
With the second wave, then we've talked a little bit about the value it brought. I think there are probably still some skeptics out there about the value that a world-class marketing department can add to an organization, maybe in particular in the B2B world. what would you say about that? What value can a world-class marketing department bring?
Yeah, I think, of course, I believe a marketing organization can bring a ton of value, of course, but I think, it's one of the big changes that's happened is the value of marketing has become much more measurable now in the digital era. And so I think even if you didn't believe it before, there are now, numbers, data, ROI analysis you can do to say, if we spend X amount of money doing this, we can develop a certain amount of value, and you can put a number to it now. But even beyond that, I think, marketing allows companies to engage customers in a less transactional or negotiation oriented way, is what I believe. And I've worked in both sales and marketing. So in sales, you're always trying, you always have an agenda. You're trying to sell something, of course. And you're often involved with or stuck in the procurement department. I think marketing allows you to get around and start talking to the marketing department, or sometimes even the strategic people in a customer. And so you get around or outside of pure, negotiation and commercial term discussions. And you're able to talk about, possibilities, things that you can do together to grow. You can gather a better picture of what is what challenges the customer's facing, what they're trying to do with their consumers. So you get outside and into a different kind of conversation. And then if your marketing department has a good foundation of information, a good way to help customers formulate those concepts or ideas for growth, then you can be really, really engaged with the customer. And then finally, with the addition of digital marketing, you can gather and consolidate an awful lot of information and do an awful lot of kind of automated or automatic connecting with customers to give them more relevant information. So I think those are all things that I think of when I think about a world-class marketing organization. And then at the end of all that, you can also measure some of the results and the value of what money you're investing.
I think that was often businesses' biggest concerns. And I can remember I studied marketing, and I think it was David Jobber was the marketing textbook, and it was always about how do you actually quantify the ROI with a marketing department. The fact that you can now really clearly show the value that it's bringing to an organization.
Yeah, these days it's a lot easier in the sense that there are numbers you can gather. You can look at, there's almost too many numbers. There's almost too much data. So you have to be smart and selective about what you pick, because you can look at everything and it can tell you nothing. So you have to choose the things that are going to be really insightful and give you a good set of numbers to look at.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine. What's you mentioned before, there's already eyeing the third wave. Really interested to hear about this. What's next? What's the future in marketing at Tetra Pak?
Yeah, so if I talk about what we could consider to be our third wave, that is what we're calling our sales and marketing transformation. So in many companies, including ours, sales and marketing have traditionally run kind of like parallel tracks. Sales is here, marketing is here next, but it's pretty much parallel paths. So the next wave, and we're just getting ready to start it, and it's building on this digital marketing wave and the use of all this technology. But we really want to use the technology now, which is allowing us to be so much more efficient, to become to work much closer with sales. How we're actually going to end up, what it actually looks like in terms of organization and setup, I don't know, but we want to remap our processes so that we have a very, very tight collaboration now inside the company between sales and marketing. So marketing gathering information, feeding it to sales at the right moments, sales feeding back to marketing things that they think they need to do to communicate with customers, and really leveraging, building on a base of technology, this infrastructure that we've been talking about, to really speed up and really serve the customers even better and more efficiently. So the classic case is you go in to see the customer and they ask you a question, and you say, I've got to get back to you on that one. And then you have to go back and you have to chase with a bunch of phone calls to try to track down the information, whether it was about the status of an order or something a little more complicated. It's not always at your fingertips, but with this technology, it can be, and it should even allow customers to self-serve. I mentioned before, we have our customer portal. In that customer portal, we want to make that more and more sophisticated so that the customers can actually go in and self-serve and answer their own questions about certain things, so that they don't have to call us, ask us. That's one example. But I think, this idea of using information, using sales and marketing working together, all in service of, a better service to our customers, a better customer experience, a faster speed of response, and being able to take care of whatever it is that the customers are needing, and the ability to very quickly between sales and marketing share new information that's relevant about customers that leads us to be able to give them better information or get more business from them. That's kind of the goal. So how that actually looks, I don't know, because we're starting the journey, but I really believe there's going to be an awful lot of benefit to us working in a tighter collaboration and having a sort of a seamless interaction between the two teams as if they were one team.
I think it's an amazing opportunity, and I think the fact that there are so many organizations where you have sales, marketing, product management and product development, it's all exceptionally siloed, and you feel like there's a lack of communication. And I think it sounds like you've made some amazing progress, and it's a huge opportunity. And we're actually seeing that in the wider business world, with flatter hierarchies, silos being broken down. And I think there seems like you've identified some amazing opportunities to really converge the collaboration between the sales and marketing departments.
I think we don't even know the full scope or extent of what benefits it could bring us. So I'm pretty excited to look into it and find out more, because I think there's a lot more than what we've even thought about or realized yet. So that's going to be a fun wave as we get into it.
Yeah, I can imagine growing market share, improving market segmentation and customers. It seems like it's a really exciting time. And thank you so much for sharing the journey so far. It's been a fantastic conversation. Could you maybe just summarize the key takeaways, the things for our listeners and viewers that you'd want them to take away from this conversation?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if I think about these three waves that we've talked about, so the marketing services and customer innovation center wave, the digital marketing and technology wave, and now this upcoming wave of sales and marketing transformation, to me, there's three common things that cross all of them. One is that there's a speed of change in the marketing function that is just accelerating. It's always been fast. It's just getting faster. And you have to think of it as a kind of constantly making adjustments. So waves for me, it's a pretty good analogy, because waves are constantly moving. So, just to keep up with the speed of change in the function, you've got to be in a constant state of moving through waves. Secondly, I think as you move through these waves, I think you can find yourself going in really divergent or different directions than you might have expected. I don't think I ever would have anticipated at the start of this journey that I would be saying sales and marketing need to come together and work really, really closely together. I had a totally different mindset before. So you have to really be ready for big changes. And then third, I would say, in each of these waves, and I'm anticipating even more perhaps in this sales and marketing transformation, I've said the big obstacle has been getting buy-in, convincing people, and to try to make it happen. So I think, having a strong vision and really leading the organization and all of the stakeholders through the change is really required so that you can bring everyone along. So that's also to me a constant. So so I think that would be what I think about the takeaways.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate
You're so welcome. Thank you.